Video is working. As soon as I can get it to come up. All right, let's see how this sounds. Video is working. Yep, it sounds pretty clear. All right, let's turn that down then. I am a couple of minutes early. But that's okay. Beats being late, beats not being here. I don't think we're going to go for a full hour tonight. I do have a subject that we're going to talk about. And I think it's kind of something that we've talked about that bears repeating. So, for those of you who are coming in, and I know I'm expecting a few people to show up tonight, what we're going to be talking about is the fulfillment part of the crowdfunding cycle. So, for users of Kickstarter and Crowdfunder, Fund My Comic, and Indiegogo, this is something to definitely consider. And then for people who are supporting creators on that platform, this could be something that you may want to hear as well. Now, I can speak from my experience as a backer and as a creator. I've backed over 100 campaigns over the years. Quite a few, actually. I'd have to look up the exact count between all the platforms, but it's well over 100. And one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is maybe some perceptions, perhaps some misconceptions about things out there, both on the creator side and on the backer side of things, those who support the funding of those projects. So one of the things I made some notes on some bullet points to keep up with, so bear with me. I still only have one monitor hooked up. I will probably try and get the second one hooked up next week so I can do this a little more efficiently. Here's hoping, if I can find the time. But one of the common perceptions that I see people talking about online a lot on X and on Blue Sky and on Facebook in different groups is that there's a pretty common perception about crowdfunding creators failing to fulfill. Now, for my viewpoint, again, having backed over 100 campaigns, I observe that that's been a very small minority. A very small minority. I have, in the campaigns that I've supported, I have one campaign where the creator didn't fulfill because he passed away. I have another who is incredibly late, but in all fairness, his artist became very ill, and I mean very ill. He came down with cancer, and he is back to work on the project now. It's 3 years and change late, but they're working to get it fulfilled. And then I have another that I supported that just skipped out completely. So out of over 100 campaigns, I really only have one instance where there was this completely uncalled for behavior. Beyond that, I mean, I've had some people who have, of course, run a little late, a few weeks or a couple of months or whatever. But by and large, my experience has been one that when you support a campaign, you typically get it fulfilled. Now, I don't, and historically, this is very, very true. I typically don't support for large dollar amounts because I just haven't been able to. Most of my money goes into my own projects. But I try to support campaigns I think are interesting. And so I usually, for comics or role playing games or stuff like that, I usually back on digital tiers. And that's fine. Digital is easy for creators to fulfill, and I figure I can always get a print copy later when I can afford one if I choose to get one. But on social media, the big thing that seems to drive most of the social media algorithms is anger and outrage and such. And there's a great deal of anger that comes from folks when they have someone who has failed to meet their crowdfunding obligation. There are people who are widely considered chronically late, um, sometimes on multiple campaigns. I am not here to call any of those people out. That's not my place, not what I do. But I think that from what I observe anyway, we don't see a lot of people, or at least I don't, talking about the campaigns they back that fulfill. Now, I've been very fortunate over the years. I've had a few YouTubers, particularly, who have done unboxing videos of product that they've gotten from me from crowdfunding campaigns, and that's a real joy. I love seeing those. I've had product reviews that have been done by folks after they've read through and enjoyed the product, and I think that's pretty good. And even on a couple of our art print campaigns, we've had folks who have unboxed and showed them off, and then framed them up and showed what they looked like on the wall on subsequent videos. So I've had some really good experiences with that, but that's a very small number of occurrences. Um, so I think that what I might try is when I do the fulfillment on Rain of Ages issue 4, which should start this coming week, because I'm expecting books to be in on or before Wednesday, so long as the shipping information I'm seeing is correct. And so should be able to get everything actually, hopefully, out in the mail to everyone by Saturday. So fulfillment in July, yay, right? And then with a similar speed and cadence for the art print campaign that we've got running, which I will remember to put a link into the chat here in a little bit. I want to thank the folks who are watching. Thanks for joining us tonight. But the fulfillment failures that we see, my contention is that is really not the normal. I think it's just the one that the social media algorithms and our fandom news sites are really pointing out a lot. I would like to invite folks who have YouTube channels. I mean any YouTube channel, any TikTok, any Facebook or X account, any type of social media presence at all, that if you have backed a campaign and the uh, product arrives in a timely manner, take a moment and make a little content for yourself. Tag the creators so that they know that you got your content, your rewards rather, in. And if there is any damage, follow up with them and see what that resolution is like. Leverage that for content, because it will also generate interest and attention for those creators. And I think that there are a number of creators out there who really do not get the credit they deserve for their professionalism, for not just meeting their obligations, but setting expectations and then regularly surpassing them. Madeline Holly Rossing comes to mind on that. Mike Shea comes to mind on that. Madeline, of course, creates Boston Metaphysical Society, and then Mike Shea creates Miskatonic High. There are several other creators I would lump into this. Tom Hutchins, of course, and then Larry Patrick Higgins with Niobe. I would certainly put J.D. Calderon high up in this list of people who regularly exceed expectations for delivery of their crowdfunding obligations. Billy Tucci, my God, Billy does such a phenomenal job, and of course the Lady Death team is top tier all across the board, and I think that we see that in the consistent backer retention for those folks, but maybe a little shout out could help those crowds grow for those creators more and more. So just consider that as you go forward and back those campaigns and are seeing those people who are succeeding regularly. Give them a shout out, tag them, and let them know what you think about how things arrive. If things don't arrive well, that can be a very great learning opportunity for those creators, so that they can adjust their processes, improve their protocols, and be better the next time. And if someone was on the fence about whether to back a particular project, maybe they'll see your results and be more inclined to back that creator in the future. So that's really my first point, that fulfillment failures, from my observation, are not the normal. They're just the things that we are hearing more about because of the way our social media algorithms function. That's my observation and my hypothesis. I have not tested that. So I'm not claiming that this is, a sound theory. This is just my observation, what I conjecture to be the case. I invite anyone who has the analytics background to analyze that and see if that hypothesis holds water. I'd love to see what your results tell you. Now, concerning fulfillment, failures, successes, things of that nature, there's a lot that goes into successfully fulfilling a crowdfunding campaign. Now, that process actually starts around the time you begin the planning phase for your crowdfunding campaign. And if it hasn't, you need to stop and factor that in before you launch. You need to understand what your shipping obligations are going to be. You need to understand what your shipping processes need to be based on the weight, the size, the quantity, and certainly have contingencies, not just for how you are going to package stuff, but how you're going to source your supplies. So, by way of example, I've actually got ready for the stream, go figure. I've pulled up a little something here. Now, let me get this back to where you can see it. Just outed myself completely. This is the Jam Paper and Envelope Company website. Okay. So these are the envelopes that I use when I'm shipping my 11 by 17 art prints. Now, I use a 13 by 18 because it's a little easier to handle, and you can get your product in there without, causing nicks and damages on the corners. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room so you can put your reinforcing cardboard or whatever else you're going to use to help to protect it and get it in there. And you can also ship multiple art prints in it effectively without, looking ridiculous and jeopardizing the integrity of your product. Now, knowing how to source these is important for my particular campaigns. So let me get down here. We see what their pricing scale is. I usually buy in batches. So I'm at $1.63 per envelope when I purchase 100 of them. That's a fantastic savings individually over the almost $5 I pay for them singularly here. And that's a significant savings compared to buying a packet of 10, for what is it? I think it's 30 something dollars on Amazon. Being able to source this is important. And yes, it does require a little room to store your shipping supplies. But if you're going to get into the creative process of you, I would recommend trying to achieve these economies of scale as soon as possible, both to save on your shipping, because you're going to carry that shipping cost over to your backers, certainly. This is a good idea from the get-go because it gives resources on hand to handle your shipping obligation. Two, and the fulfillment process, this is actually going to cut down on the shipping costs that you're going to be passing on to your backers, right? So it's a lot easier on your backers for accounting for $1.63 for this envelope than it is for $4 and something cents on this envelope when you're passing it on to your backers in your shipping costs. So not only are you saving yourself money doing this, you're saving your backers money. And ultimately, your backers are the people who are fueling your project, your creativity, and your business endeavor. And even if your process isn't even if you're using crowdfunding, I should say, and it's not a business to you, if it's more of a hobby, this is still a good idea because it's going to pass along those savings to those backers. The difference of $3 and something cents in your shipping calculations may determine whether or not a particular backer is going to go and support that campaign, or maybe they're going to pass on it because the shipping is just a little bit too high. Keep that in mind when you're doing your formulation. And this is where, again, we come back to fulfillment beginning at the planning stage. You're going to want to make sure that you analyze your costs and also have contingencies set up. So, for example, I currently have enough product on hand to ship everything I'm going to need to ship for our current projected obligations for Reign of Ages issue 4, because we have all that information in already. And for the Tibby and Tibby's 4th of July art print, we have enough on site right now to ship what we're projected to get to. But there's a potential that we may reach as high as 300 backers or so. And so I have to be ready to go ahead and get those extra materials in quickly and at a price point that doesn't hurt me financially and doesn't harm our backers financially. So taking the time to make that responsible analysis and formulate good processes that can minimize cost not only to yourself but to your backers is part of that planning phase that will help your fulfillment period be successful. Now, as far as planning for contingencies, you should have multiple sources available in mind. So, for example, on that, we're going to take a slight turn and we're going to get this so I don't dox myself again. We're going to look at a different aspect for the processes on packaging, right? So, I normally, if I'm just buying 100 or so bags and boards for the art prints, I will normally just get those from Amazon or buy them singularly from BCW directly. But we're going to be needing to order more if we get to, say, 50 or 60 backers, right? And I've known that from the beginning. So I've had my fallback for shipping. You know, I normally can get them from Amazon as needed, no problem. And the Prime helps save for that. But as a backup, I can get them direct from BCW and actually achieve my economy of scale. So what we have here is an order of 1,000. That's 10 bags of bags and 10 bags of boards, $487. To put this in perspective, except for last year, I normally go through about 250 to 290 bags and boards for these art prints through convention appearances and whatnot in a given year. This year so far, with just 2 convention appearances and not even counting the ones I need for the current campaign, I've already ran through 300 and I think 35 bags and boards already. That's a lot of art prints to sell that we've sold again at conventions this year. A lot of them. So obviously, I have plenty on stock right now. I've got another 100 coming in that are running a little behind. But if we get, say, like I said, another 40 or 50 backers or so, I'm going to need more of those. So I have my contingency lined up. Have your supply lines checked like that. Be ready to move in anticipation. And for the love of all that's holy, don't wait to the last minute to order those supplies, because what you're going to find is, sure as anything, there may be a shortage or there may be a shipping difficulty or something along those lines that will delay that receipt, and that's going to slow down your fulfillment. And the last thing you want in any fulfillment of a crowdfunding campaign is something that's going to slow you down. Okay? I know I've got a lot to say about this, guys. I hope that this is going to be helpful for you. If you got any questions, make sure you type them up in the chat. I've got this going live right now on YouTube and X/Twitter. So yeah, definitely post your questions or any comments there, certainly. Now, there is a financial reality to this that a lot of times, folks, let's see here. Good old Good old BCW. Yeah. Well, that's true. Now, here's the thing, though. You can get their boxes um, individually, certainly, um, but I think that you start seeing a discount on there when you're ordering 5 or more. So take a look at that. I mean, again, this actually plays in nicely to the next point I was going to make, is about cash flow, right? A lot of times we have to wait until we get the money in from the crowdfunding campaign in order to order press runs or in order to get our supplies or things like that. Now, me being mostly away from crowdfunding last year for family issues, pardon me, sorry about that. I had the opportunity to turn lemons into lemonade, if you would, and we sold a lot at Lexington Toy and Comic Festival and at Lexicon. Actually, Spencer was at Lexington Toy and Comic Festival. Spencer, you saw how busy we were, right? So yeah, good to see you, Warren. See you, bro. All right, yeah, we're talking about fulfillment tonight. So, but again, that cash flow issue. If you have to, if you know you're going to have to wait for the crowdfunding payment to come in, and you should know that well before the campaign starts. And so the first thing you want to do is add that time, that delay between the time your campaign ends and you get paid, right on top of whatever time you anticipate that's going to take to fulfill. And just like as Larry and I were talking on stream the other day, whenever you're looking at your fulfillment schedule, you should really plan that out with a buffer of a few weeks so that you have the time that you're going to need. So, for example, with these two campaigns, the Reign of Ages 4 campaign and the Tibby art print campaign, we had cash that we've been building up from the conventions and such, right? So I was able to go ahead and order the Reign of Ages books. I was able to go ahead and pre-order art prints, and I was able to stock bags and boards, Gemini mailers, the whole 9 yards, right? But even with that, I knew that there was a possibility that we were going to need more. So I always had to have that order ready. I had to be aware of what that time frame might be. And so I tried to build those out accordingly. Sorry about that. We're having fireworks outside apparently. So, and that's definitely fireworks, not gunfire. I'm an old hat at the traditional American game of fireworks or gunshots. But that's definitely fireworks. Let's see here. But yeah, I understand. The boxes from BCW aren't cheap, but they are pretty good quality. And especially if you're storing your comics for the long haul, I would definitely get those. Now, the plastic ones that they have out, I really want some of those because I think that those are going to hold up even better than the cardboard ones. And I could really, really go for that. I think that's going to be pretty good. Your contingency plans on fulfillment. With the process that you have, you need to make sure that you have plans. What if something goes wrong, right? So by that, what I mean is, hey, I'm going to use USPS. What do I do if my car gets destroyed and I can't take stuff to the post office? How do I call for pickups? What if I get damage that's done in shipping? How do I follow up with the Postal Service to make my claim? And how do I make my backer whole in the meantime? So these are things that you need to build into your contingencies so that you can keep your backers and your fulfillment obligations taken care of. Now, guys, I'm going to say something controversial. It doesn't seem controversial to me, but it seems like there are certain people out there who consider it to be controversial. It is my opinion that if you are running a crowdfunding campaign and you promise a backer reward for someone's support, then you have an obligation to fulfill that reward. Now, I realize some people don't hold that same position. I am a firm believer in that because I would get very mad if I pledged money to a campaign and that creator suddenly said, well, you know, pledging is not a purchase. I get that disclaimer from every crowdfunding platform. I understand that, so that they're not obligated to make them whole. But you, as the creator, I feel should have that obligation. And I think you should go into your crowdfunding with the expectation that come hell or high water, you're going to make sure that your backers either get what you promised them or you're going to refund that money. And I would advise any creator who is going to crowdfund, whether it's their first time or their 100th time, to make sure that they understand that. And again, like I said, I know that there are people out there who absolutely don't hold that to be true. I've actually met a few of them on live streams, and yeah, that was unpleasant conversations. But the people I support, the people whose campaigns I back, they seem to understand it very, very clearly. I have never supported a campaign from Madeline Holly Rossing or from Mike Shea or Larry Higgins or Hutchinson or JD Calderon and thought for even the smallest moment that if they took my money, I was not going to get what they promised. Not one time have I ever considered that from any of them. And maybe at first that was a little naive, but they proved it over and over again by making sure that their fulfillment obligation was met. Which is one of the things that makes it weird to me and kind of drew my attention so much when I see all the activity, and this has been going on for years on social media about fulfillment failures and people who aren't meeting their obligations. Now, again, I'm not calling them out. I don't know the circumstances for those people, and I'm not going to presume to. But if you do have a campaign that you supported and they have not fulfilled and they're late or they're just simply saying they're not going to fulfill, then I contend that is the outlier. That is abnormal. That is not the norm, at least not in my experience. And certainly not the experience that I build for the people who support my campaigns. Okay, I got a little sidetracked there. Fulfillment, as I said, begins in your planning phase. So while you are planning your crowdfunding campaign, it's not just a matter of shipping. It's also the matter of the packaging. It's also the matter of the time it's going to take for you to prepare those packages. How are you going to generate the mailing labels? How are you going to adhere them? Are you going to be using any stamps to denote that the package is fragile or not to bend your photo mailer because it's an art print or something like that? These are things that you should take into consideration during your planning phase. Are you going to have enough toner for your printer? And I say that because a couple of years ago, I actually didn't think about it, and after 20 or 30 mailing labels, realized that I was almost out of toner, and that I didn't have another toner cartridge. I was like, oh my god! Thankfully, Amazon to the rescue, and I had a new toner cartridge the next day. But take these things into consideration. They do affect the timeliness of your processes. Okay. In fact, I know that I'm going to have to change out the toner in my printer, probably about the midway point between the labels for the Reign of Ages 4 campaign. I have my new toner cartridge right below my desk. So we are literally ready to rock and roll on this fulfillment. And these are things that you learn through experience. These are things that you learn when you're doing fulfillment and things go wrong, or something becomes inconvenient because you didn't plan for it, and maybe it slows you down by a day, or maybe it slows you down by 10. So definitely take these kind of things into consideration when you're doing your planning. Now, one of the things that I have seen, and this is something that several creators have brought up in the past when I've talked with them, especially for their first campaigns, because I don't know anyone who's made this mistake more than once, is that when you're appending the shipping costs, Kickstarter and Stripe do take their percentage off that as well. So make sure you're accounting for that in your calculations. And so the good short form version of that is take what your total shipping cost calculations say, multiply them by 1.12. Okay. And then since you can't put cents in your shipping calculator, your shipping amount for Kickstarter, round it up to the next dollar, unless you've got enough space in the price point for your actual item that you allow for it. But just be mindful and look at what that final cost calculation is going to be, because that can be a factor that could determine whether or not someone's even willing to back your campaign based on those price points. So an example on that, I'll pull up my current campaign. Would help if I actually share the screen. So with Tibby's 4th of July art print, we included the shipping within the United States and territories for all tiers. And so this, including everything in the US, this comes out really well. And at a $25 price point, at a lot of conventions, this is about what you'll pay for a high quality print, right? For the holochrome, $35. That's about where holochromes and foils and such are at most conventions as well. So being able to get these in at those price points is very advantageous, I feel, and an easy price point for your backers. Now, what this means is that we've got not just our shipping calculus in here, but we've also got the 10% Stripe and Kickstarter fee into it. And that's how we got to it. But that means, for any of you who are good with math, that are obviously we're not making huge amounts of money on every transaction. And I think into our next point, okay? If you are a creator and you're using Kickstarter to try to get rich fast, you are operating under a false presumption. That is realistically not what happens, except for the very rarest of occasions. And even those people who are doing $100,000 campaigns or such, they have teams of people helping with their fulfillment. They have set it up as a business. They are doing everything they can to make sure that they have happy customers, because happy customers become repeat customers. Okay. And so that is something that your fulfillment is going to really help generate. Having a successful campaign, whether it's a successful $350 goal or a successful $10,000 goal, having a successful fulfillment, putting your best quality work in the hands of the people who supported you in a timely manner is going to go miles and miles and miles towards retaining those folks to support you in future projects. Okay? There is a saying amongst farmers is that you can shear sheep many times, or maybe you can shear sheep every year, but you can only skin them once. And I think that rings very true with regard to business. You can put good value and fair in, and that would be shearing every year to get a little off the top to help keep the business running, right? But people are going to know, and they're going to realize when you overprice and rip them off, and you're only going to be able to skin that customer once. I would highly recommend you never do it. If you're going to be creative and you're going to be using crowdfunding, whether it's Kickstarter or Fund My Comic or Crowdfunder. Sorry about that. I'm a little exasperated with Indiegogo at the moment. Anyway, if you're going to be using or BackerKit, if you're going to be using these platforms and you're planning on doing this to, build something for yourself or your progeny, build a business out of it, then get used to the idea of working hard and making sure you're delivering the highest quality products at the best prices, because no one wants to overpay for something, right? People will tolerate higher price points on because they understand that they're not just buying the product, they are helping you to create that product. But sometimes we see people with $50 backer levels for a 24-page comic. Most of those don't succeed. So keep that in mind, folks. Your fulfillment is the final point of contact with that customer for that campaign. It's also the most recent contact point that customer is going to have with you before your next campaign. Okay? You only have, as the saying goes, you only have one chance to make a first impression, right? And that crowdfunding fulfillment stage, on top of whatever pretty graphics you have for your campaign, on top of the quality that you have for your product, that's the cherry on top, guys. Get your deliveries right, get your fulfillment squared away, and you'll be A-okay. A lot of stuff to cram into 35 minutes. I know. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me so far. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. I am going to share some stuff with you too concerning my current fulfillments so that you can see where we're going with that, okay? So as we discussed already, we have Reign of Ages issue 4. Those comics should be arriving here in a couple of days. Now, we have a few more people who have filled out their backer survey. So I think we've got about half of the people, maybe a little bit more than half the people that have answered now. So be able to fulfill this coming week. My goal is to have every reward that needs to be shipped out by Saturday. Okay? So that means everything bagged, boarded, packaged up, wrapped in bubble wrap, into the Gemini mailers, labeled and out, not just out the door, but down to the post office and on their way to their new forever homes. Now, that's going to be 3 days after the Tibby campaign is ended. And so what we're going to be doing also with that is we're going to be packaging that campaign and shipping those out. Again, I'm not waiting for the Kickstarter money to come in before I fulfill. I'm going to get that in and restock, repay myself from there. But we're definitely going to be two of our swiftest campaigns ever for fulfillment. And my hope is that this can help bring some of the excitement to the backers who came out and supported us after me being gone for a year, right? I think that a good turnaround time with high quality is going to be a big, big deal. Now, one of the things I want to bring up on this too regarding fulfillment is that with the Tibby campaign, we have, I want to say 10 people of the 23 people who have pledged who had never before backed a Kickstarter campaign. Their accounts, we were the first campaign they'd backed. And I want to make sure that they have the best expectations and the best experience possible, right? I think if they're going to trust me enough with their very first campaign that they're supporting, it's my obligation to do what I do for every backer and give them the best effort possible. So we've got everything lined out. I've messaged every backer we've had in that campaign. I did this with Reign of Ages also. Say, hey, if you have any questions, just let me know. So that's cool. And just try and get ready for that fulfillment cycle and get things set up for success. So, key point on fulfillment cycle stuff, Reign of Ages, right back here in these boxes, we have the books for fulfillment from Reign of Ages 1, 2, and 3, and the other add ons that were included in that campaign so that they are all set up and ready to roll. This isn't something I'll have to hunt through inventory for. They are bagged up, they're boarded, and ready to rock. With the Tibi art prints, we have the main press run is in. Now we are expecting the holochromes in the next couple of days because we ordered the test prints before we added them to the campaign. We wanted to make sure that they were going to look right. And again, this goes back to prepping your fulfillment from your planning, right? There was the understanding that we would make those available if they were of sufficient quality, right? And they very much were. These guys did a fantastic job. This is the first time we're using Ready Comics for fulfillment order. We had previously used Comics Wellspring, but they are, at last time I checked, they no longer have the holochromes available for their 11 by 17 prints. So we found a contingency. We found folks who can and did do a fantastic job. Really happy to see what they brought to us. Getting these things together and making them work, very, very, very important. I know I'm really harping down on fulfillment for this, guys. Plan for those contingencies. Plan how you're going to do it, because if you're going in there, well, if this happens, then I'll do this. No, lose the if. Your marketing plan and your product and everything, that's the if. Your fulfillment thing is, this is how this happens. This is your execution. This is how you're delivering product to your backers. And as I said before, I know that there are people who disagree with me on this, but I do believe that if someone is going to trust you with their money and you've told them that if they, back X amount of dollars, they're going to get XY things, then XY things need to be shipped to those backers. They need to get those backer rewards. I think that's a compact of trust that you as a creator should cherish, and that your fulfillment execution should reflect that you care about. Because we can say all the pretty words we want, but at the end of the day, it's our actions that are really going to tell the truth of our processes. It's going to show in our actions that we are committed to those people who committed cash to us. And it's going to convey those treasures that we built from our vision to the people who shared that vision with us enough to want to see it through. Man, I should have written that down. Someone let me know if that sounded really corny or if that was cool, because that sounded cool when I said it out loud. Not bad for, just emptying my brain, right? Shameless product placement. Oh. I am really excited to be back to creating materials through crowdfunding. I almost said creating content. I'm not sure that's exactly the way I should phrase that. I'm excited that so many people have come out and help us get things done. And I'm excited that Reign of Ages issue 4 passed its funding goals so well. And I'm thrilled that the Tibi's 4th of July art print project has passed its goal so well. We're 332% of goal, which is absolutely fantastic for one of our art print campaigns. Those are usually somewhere around, $100, $200. and we're just short of $1,000 on this campaign right now. So huge amounts of gratitude to everyone who's backed that campaign. I think you're gonna love the prints that we're sending you all. They are gorgeous. And guys, I know we've got people watching on X and on YouTube. If you have any questions, any comments, criticism, free to post them in the chat. I love interacting with you guys. And for some reason, Restream has a thing on the metrics about who's chatting and interaction and all that stuff. I'm not quite sure how to read that yet. I never really paid attention to it, but I'm going to start taking a look and see if I can figure out what it is that I need to know about that for future streams. Oh, now we're going to talk about another thing about fulfillment on this. And this is something I mentioned on the backer update on the Tibby's 4th of July 2026 campaign. And I'd also mentioned it in one of the updates. I don't remember which one, but one of the updates in the Reign of Ages issue 4 campaign. And that's when you have damage in shipping. If you've done any shipping of anything for commercial use, or shipped anything to your cousin, or shipped anything for backer rewards, then you understand that sometimes damages happen, right? I had one particular campaign, I'll never forget this. I had taken everything down on the first load of it, because we had like 200 and something backers. And I did all the international backers by countries, right? And so I went ahead and knocked them out real quick, because there was only like 15 or so. And then went in and started knocking out all the domestic stuff, so we went ahead. Hey, Light Blazer, what's up, man? So we got all this stuff together, and I took that first load down. It was all the international stuff. And that was all fine, well, and good. And then I got a call from the post office. And so I had to come down, and what had happened is they had, done the sorting and stuff, and the international stuff was in one bin, and the other stuff was in another bin. And somehow the bin with the international stuff got knocked over, and the international stuff fell into the parking lot off the loading dock. And unfortunately, a vehicle ran over it. So all of them were absolutely annihilated. So that sucked. But they told me. And so I went ahead and repackaged everything. I had to go ahead and pay everything. And that's, 15 internationals, with I think 4 of them were in Australia. So that was not cheap. That was a few $100s just in postage. And I got the money back from the USPS. I think it was 6 weeks later or 8 weeks later or something like that. I got the money back, certainly. But plan for those contingencies. Be ready to address them. We've had other times where people have folded up books, like paperback books, when we did like RPG books and such, and some of those would see damage, and we'd end up, okay, we need to ship those a little differently. One of the things about doing that is just get photos from the backer, so that you can turn in your insurance claim with the postal service. And then don't wait for the USPS, because your backer doesn't want to wait 2 months while you wait for the refund. Go ahead and get that book shipped out to them, because again, this goes back to your fulfillment criteria. Get that product into the hands of the backers, the highest quality product you can make at the best condition you can get it to them. And don't let yourself become complacent on that. If you're packaging something up and you see it looks a little wonky, you're like, that's good enough. Nope. Stop yourself, check yourself, make sure you package that correctly. Think about what you'd think if someone sent a half-ass packaged thing to your house, and what kind of impression that would make. Don't do that to your backers, and certainly don't do it to your future. Okay? We have an obligation. We have an obligation. That's my opinion. Light Brazier, what do you think, man? Am I off the mark? Because I'm a firm believer that we have an obligation to meet our fulfillment obligations. Spencer, Warren, what do you guys think? Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do another shameless plug while I'm at it. Let me refresh this. I'm going to pop the link to the Tibby's 4th of July 2026 art campaign into the chat. If you haven't backed that campaign yet, please do come out and take a look. We have 3 days left. Guys out. Blight Blazer, I got my tongue tripping up, man. We have 3 days left in the campaign. We're ending at 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. That's the 1st of July. And we're going to start shipping on July 2nd, right? So we have 23 backers right now. We do have a couple of social goals. The first one, we reach 100 backers, and that's going to earn Damian Torres a bonus. Now, I get that we're a long way from that, and we are. But currently we have, I think it's 40 or it's 39. Let me see here. Make sure I'm not sharing the screen because I don't want to dox anybody. We have 39 backers who have saved the campaign, who have not yet pledged to it. So I think that we have a pretty good chance of converting a lot of those folks into backers. 20 of them had been following the pre-launch campaign, and then 19 of them are people who added it after the launch. So I think that's pretty good indeed. And the funny part is that we've had, let's see, looks like we've had, I'm not going to search this down. I know it's here somewhere. I was going to look to see if I could figure out how many people we've had on the website, but I'm having the difficulty finding that particular line value. Not a big deal. But yeah, beautiful art prints available, including the spicy one that's the Not Safe for Work cover art for Tibby and her Time Traveling Psychedelic Mushrooms issue 2. I've had some really clever suggestions on how to market that for the coming Kickstarter, so we'll go into there. Does anyone have any questions concerning crowdfunding fulfillment? Anyone have any comments? If I'm off the mark on my assessments on this? Have you had good experiences? Have you had bad experiences? Have you experienced fulfillment for me? And if so, what was that experience like for you? Interesting comment. If you're watching this after the stream is done, go ahead and feel free to post that too. I will be looking at those comments through the next week. Obviously, I tend to cheat and I check the comments live streams week to week. So definitely interested in your take on it. Grab some Tibbies. Yes, definitely grab some Tibbies. This is a beautiful, safe for work piece. Blight Blazer. I keep stuttering today. I'm sorry, man. I keep wanting to say bright, and I know it's Blight. Blight Blazer. Have you seen those art prints yet, man? They're like I said, they're safe for work this time. No cheating, mister. Okay. No cheating. Man, we were in almost an hour on this. I didn't really expect us to eat that much time going on and on about fulfillment. We've had a number of people come in and out through the course of this, so huge thanks to all of them. And really huge thanks to Spencer and Warren and Blight. I did it again, Blight Blazer. And Blight Blazer for commenting and adding to the conversation. I appreciate it. It really does make this a lot more fun for me. And anything that makes this more fun than I already have, I really appreciate. We are a long way from that first stream we did where we had 90-something viewers at one time. That was pretty wild. I think about half of them were probably bots, to tell you the truth. But I didn't bot myself. Don't get me wrong. That's not my thing. But I think it was just because I try to clear out accounts that look like bots on my X account for the Snow Publishing site. And I think a lot of those from those early streams were ones I hadn't caught yet. So there we go. And by the way, guys, if you don't yet follow me on X or Blue Sky or YouTube, you can find us on Sinopa Publishing. I hope you'll go ahead and like and subscribe. Comment however you want, because we definitely want to hear from you. And also, it helps our algorithms and shows interest in the content that we're putting out. But we've got a couple people that just popped in too. Welcome, guys. Glad to see you. And like I said, if you got any comments or questions, any criticisms, any concerns, feel free to go ahead and ask. I am going to share something that I hadn't shown you guys yet. As many of you know, I create Tibby or time traveling psychedelic mushrooms. And we, after we did the campaign fulfillment, Ben Dunn asked me if I would like Anarch Press to put it out. And I was like, hell yeah. Let me go ahead and do a new cover. And they wanted to do the original Kickstarter cover. I'm like, no, we don't reprint covers. So I hired, do your surveys. please do your surveys. Yep. So I hired Damian Torres to do a cover specific for Antarctic Press, right? And so we did this one. And then Anarch Press wanted to do a foil version of the line art from the original cover, and I could see that as a unique one, so we did that too. And that's how that beauty came out. Isn't that gorgeous? But Anarch Press press run sold completely out on these, so I didn't get any comps. So I ended up buying my own book on eBay. How's that for a trip, right? But they are beautiful. I hadn't even been able to see them at any of the local comic shops because they sold out at all of the Lexington shops that had them. So I think all of them only ordered 1 or 2 copies of them, but they sold out on all of them. And then the funny part is the shops that I sell to directly, ones who had gotten the Tibby crowdfunding books, right? I started getting messages say, hey, do you have any copies of these Antarctic Press covers? Because we'd really like to get some more of these foils in. I'm like, I don't have any. As far as I understand, they're going to have to do a reorder. And so my understanding from those shop managers, they put in reorders with Diamond, of course, because this was before the Diamond bankruptcy hit, like literally 2 months before the Diamond bankruptcy hit. And then the Diamond bankruptcy hit. And so we never got a second round of orders on that. So I really don't know how well Tibby issue 1 would have really gone around on the main distribution channels. Just don't know. So maybe we'll see when we put out the second one. All right. Cool. Well, guys, it is 9:55. And I usually try and cut these before, add an hour or less. So I'm going to end this stream tonight. I just want to remind you guys, hey, take good care of yourself and those you love. Stay hydrated. Take any medications you're supposed to take and take them correctly. Try and find peace and calm in your life. And remember, in a world where you can choose to be anything, please choose to be kind. And with that, I am still Sam Quinton with Sonoma Publishing, right here in Frankfort, Kentucky. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Peace.